right, episode 25 here of the Bullpen, which is honestly kind of crazy, guys, that we're at 25 now. I remember, I don't know, when we got to 10, whatever that was, month ago, 2 months ago, however long it's been. I remember thinking that was crazy, but now we're at 25 episodes, so pretty awesome. But how are you guys doing? Good weekend? Everything going well for you guys?
Good for me, Gav. I bring this up like every week, but I think we're finally in the clear with the weather. I think it's supposed to be 80 here today. No, it's supposed to be really windy today and tomorrow, but high temps. So fire me up one time. It was nice because I got out to 4 games last week, so weather cooperated enough for that. So good sign.
And Tyler, I don't mean to make you a little sad here. I know we were texting about it, but we talked about the Bears draft on Monday with the upcoming draft happening on Thursday, but they took what is it, Colson Loveland? Is that his last name? Is that right? And
I mean,
not
if
your
you
guy
don't even
Tyler
know the
Warren.
guy's name and you were chirping me about my guy, I mean, let's maybe learn the cat's name.
Well, is that
Yeah,
right?
I
Is that
think
the
I
right
think the
name?
Bears messed up. I think they messed up, but it's fine. They're only
Yeah,
my
I think
second
there's just a
favorite
little
team,
little
so I
Penn
don't I
State
don't care
bias
as
there.
hard.
So
Well, I mean, he was getting Heisman votes. He plays the same position as Loveland, so that's all I'm gonna say. I rest my case. I'm gonna shut up.
all right, well, turning it over now to some college baseball stuff over the past weekend or past week, really. Uh, Big news that came across my desk on Wednesday was that Western Illinois beat Iowa 7-3. Iowa is the top-ranked Big Ten team. They are 31-12 on the season and 20-4 in conference. Kenny Perez went 2 for 4 in that game with a double and 2 runs scored. Harrison Dubois threw 3 innings, struck out 2, walked 1, and allowed 2 hits. And then Jackson Rogers threw 2.1 innings in relief and earned the win. So big win there for Western. And then on the weekend, SIUE swept Little Rock 8-4. They are now tied for first in the Ohio Valley Conference at 13-5. Illinois won their series over Purdue 2-1. They are sixth in the Big Ten at 12-9. UIC won their series over Bradley 2-1. They are now 9-9 in conference. Moving down, Southern Illinois won their series against ISU 2-1. They are rolling this year. They're third in the MVC, 12-6 in conference. And then EIU won their series over Southern Indiana 2-1, and they are third in the Ohio Valley Conference at 11-6. So good stuff there from some teams over the weekend. And then looking at some names here that are outside of some of these Illinois colleges, but they're Illinois prospects doing well. Tyler Bell is third in the SEC in doubles. He's hitting .319 on the year with 6 homers, 39 RBIs, and 38 runs scored. On that same Kentucky team, Luke Lawrence is hitting .289 with 6 doubles, a triple, 3 homers, 30 RBIs, 36 runs scored. Brendan Summerhill over at Arizona is hitting .414 with 3 homers, 28 RBIs, 7 doubles, 6 triples, and 99 at-bats. But, guys, if you see any other nuggets here, any stat lines that you want to shout out, feel free if you have anything.
Well, as you were asking us how we were doing, I was digging in on a couple guys, making sure I didn't miss them, but also didn't want to get excluded from that Bears talk. I will say I was not anticipating that name, but I've heard good things, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Time will tell. It'll depend on the system that Big Ben's trying to run over there, the 2 tight end set. I don't know enough about football, but we'll see. But 2 guys I did add on there, Gavin, onto this player list was Ryan Moorman at Ole Miss. He's hitting .285 with 13 doubles, 10 home runs, and 41 RBIs for Ole Miss, and it actually is tied for the team lead down there at Ole Miss for RBIs. Former Illinois product, Lockport High School grad. And then you've got Alex Calarco, New Trier grad, few years back. He is now at Maryland. He's hitting .305 with 9 doubles, but the number that kind of stood out to me was he's got 16 jacks on the year and 57 RBIs, which the 57 RBIs also leads Maryland as well. So just 2 guys I wanted to shout out there. And then I'm also looking at UCSB, Peter Hammett, and I'm looking at the pitchers because there is an OPRF product, and I don't know how aware of this you are. I got alerted to this. Someone reached out to me trying to dig up information on him, but Calvin Prosky is a weekend guy for UCSB. We loved him for OPRF. I know he was always one that like he had like a mystery injury one year, so where we didn't see a ton of him. And if he ever like firmed up his breaking ball just with the way he moved, we thought he'd be really, really good. I'm pulling up the stats. He's got a 2.79 ERA right now. He's thrown the most innings on the team at 61 in a third innings. He's struck out 65, so he's striking out more than a guy an inning. He's only given up 52 hits as well, and he's only walked 15 on the year. So he's turning himself into like a big time draft follow here. But super pumped. Like I hadn't heard his name for 2-3 years, and then to hear that he's like turned into a guy out there at UCSB, and we should hear his name in the draft this upcoming spring, or I guess this upcoming summer.
Let's go. I mean, I looked him up. Actually, I went down a rabbit hole earlier this spring. It must have been like really early because he had like 9 innings or something. I mean, it must have been like really early in the year. But that's awesome. Good for that kid. I liked him a lot in high school.
Yeah. So I think that's what I got, Gav, on the college baseball roundup there.
Well, yeah, I just want to add a couple things on some guys from Louisville. Jake Monroe, a Champaign Central product, is hitting .370 with 8 homers, 44 RBIs, 8 doubles, 3 triples, and 51 runs scored. And then Zion Rose is hitting .333 with 7 homers, 46 RBIs, 14 doubles, a triple, 44 runs scored. And then TJ Schlager, Joliet Catholic arm, has thrown 24.2 innings pitched so far, struck out 17, only walked 9, and has a 3.28 ERA on the year. So good stuff there from some Illinois guys. But Def, I see you have some D3 news for us.
I do, but I actually want to shout out a couple D1 guys real quick. Kenny Perez over at Western Illinois, batting .303 as a true freshman. He's also tied for the team leading home runs with 4, so really cool to see Kenny's doing that. He's a product out of De La Salle, but and was a future gamer for us way back when. But also Johnny Royer over at Holy Cross, and this is actually going to lead into my D3 nugget. True sophomore for Holy Cross. They actually just clinched the Patriot League regular season championship. So, but he's having a huge year. I want to read off these stats real quick. He's out of Lake Forest. 312 batting average, 871 OPS. He started every game for Holy Cross. He's got 3 bombs, 35 RBIs. He's 23 out of 25 for stolen bases. So, just want to shout him out. And then that leads me into my next point, which is his older brother, Rocco Royer, old teammate of mine over at Wittenberg, having a monster season. When I was there, man, Rocco really started to come on, turned into one of our better hitters. Just trying to get this stat line pulled up real quick, but it's pretty absurd. He's got 12 home runs this year, which has got to be up there. I remember my first year there, we had a guy by the name of Jack Hollinshead who had a bunch of home runs as well, but 12's kind of nuts. 43 RBIs. He's batting .347 and has an OPS over 1,000. So want to shout out my guy Rocco, and then also the alma mater's got a big series this weekend against number 5 Denison. They're 2 games back at Denison. They have a midweek series this week that hopefully they take care of, but could set up where, if they were to sweep Denison, they would get the number 1 seed going into the NCAC tournament. So want to shout out my Tigers. They're 25-9 right now. They're having a great year. So that's what I got.
Well, I actually have a little nugget from an Illinois guy at Lewis, George Bilecki. I don't know if you guys saw this. He just broke the single season home run record with 21 bombs in one year. Yeah. So, I mean, I remember seeing him in high school, and I would not have expected that type of power in the collegiate, level. But dang, I mean, good for that kid. That's not an easy feat. 21's a big boy number.
Absolutely, especially this time of the year. Like
Yeah,
we
he's
haven't
still
even
got
made
games
yet.
left.
Yeah, he's got plenty of at bats coming up. Gavin, I thought you brought up a really good product or prospect that we hadn't talked about too much, but Caleb Durbin. Defaball's talking about the Royer brothers from Lake Forest. Well, Caleb Durbin, he's from Lake Forest as well. 2018 grad. And when I first came on, one of my main jobs was to like learn that 2018 group. They were freshmen or sophomores at the time when I started in 2015. But Caleb Durbin was a guy that I remember, and I clearly missed on him. We didn't rank him in high school. He went to Wash U, a D3, out of high school, and then to see what he has done. First, when I heard his name get drafted a few years back by the Yankees, but recently got brought over to the Brewers via trade, Gavin?
Yeah, he's up with the Brewers now. Yeah, he made his debut, I think, over Easter weekend, maybe.
Yeah, I
So,
just looked up his stats. It looks like he's already got a home run. So kudos and shout out to you, Caleb Durbin, on a big league home run, and it just shows like everybody kind of runs their own race or has their own track or trend and their own story. And he is obviously a really, really cool one and was not highly regarded out of high school, at least by, myself and PBR Illinois, and clearly proved us wrong and, hopefully continues to do it at the big league level.
Yeah, actually, I'm really glad you said that because I think on Thursday night or Friday night I was watching the Brewers and Cardinals game, and he came up to bat, and I'm like, we got to talk about this guy on the podcast because like it's just such a cool story. And they were in St. Louis, so that's where Wash U is, right? In St. Louis, so I believe.
Yeah, it's in Missouri for sure. I don't know the exact address.
Yeah, I think it's in that St. Louis area. So like he probably got to see a lot of friends or family that maybe was down to see him for that game too. So that was cool to see that. But yeah, good nugget there, Drew. But no, moving over to some high school news. I mean, the Power 25, obviously we updated that today. Today is Monday. This will be out on Wednesday. But yeah, any notable movers, guys? Like anything you want to touch on off the top?
Yeah, I think Power 25 is obviously a big topic of conversation every week, especially with us getting on and going through who teams beat and lost to and how it all kind of shakes up on the list. And actually this week, just looking at it, 1 through 6 remains the same. With you got Brother Rice, Libertyville, McHenry, Manuka, Triad, and Lincoln Way West. The team that really solidified themselves the most, I felt like this past week, was Brother Rice. They're 19-1. They went 4-0 on the week. They did have some close games. Like they had a 5-4 battle against Joliet Catholic. But they also knocked off top 10 Lincoln Way East 4-0. They took down Andrean out of Indiana 5-3, and then had a tough game against Evergreen Park. Evergreen Park's played a couple teams tough so far this year, but they beat them 2-1. So at the top there, Gavin, I think that's kind of the most notable thing going on is Brother Rice just kind of solidifying themselves. And they've got a tough CCL Blue schedule coming up, but Libertyville went 2-1 on the week. They remain at 18 I guess they moved to 18-2 on the year, but remain at number 2 for us. And then we got Edwardsville kind of bumping up a spot here. We talked about it briefly last week with Edwardsville and Pravi, how they have like a few more losses than a lot of these other teams, especially towards the top of the Power 25. But Edwardsville went to the NHSI. They played some of the top teams in the country, and to me, that's only going to help their cause here as they move down the stretch and into May and into the playoff season. And they come back home into Illinois. What do? They go 3-0. They're 11-6 now, and I wanted to look. So they beat Collinsville in 2 games by a total of 14-1. And then they took down Columbia 4-1 as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the Tigers do kind of moving forward, but I feel really good about them. Just the eye test that we saw, they got so many arms. They got a lot more to tap into there just as a team. So those were 2 of my main takeaways here from the Power 25.
Yeah, and then a couple new teams to the Power 25 this week. St. Joe Ogden is 20-2, and West Aurora is 15-2. On the year, St. Joe Ogden is 20-2. They're 8-0 in conference. They are outscoring teams 206-47. They're currently on a 14-game win streak, and they are coming off a 5-0 week where they outscore teams 37-8. So their offense is rolling, and I know they have some arms that we'd like to. This again, obviously, we're recording here on Monday. This comes out on Wednesday. I'm going to see St. Joe Ogden tonight, so we'll see some firsthand action of them. And then kind of moving down here, Father McGivney, they jump up 2 spots to number 10 after a 4-0 week. They are now 20-2 on the year, and they beat Belleville East, who is a 4A program, last week. But they're obviously a 1A team, and one that we really like. I mean, their offense is really good. They have some depth on the mound too, so good stuff there from Father McGivney.
Yeah, and then St. Lawrence, they're knocking on the door of the top 10 here. They're up 3 spots to number 11. They're 16-3 on the year, but they had a really good win over the number 1 3A team in Indiana, 5-0 over Hanover Central. So they're a team to watch really closely here, especially as they get into their CCL Blue play. And then Fremd, they're up 3 spots as well to number 12. They're still undefeated. They're 15-0-1. And they had a 5-0 week, so they just continue to roll. And then Lamont, they just keep adding to their win column. They're up 2 spots to number 14. They went 4-0 on the week, so 14-3-1 on the year for them. And yeah.
Yeah, and then DePaul College Prep is now up to number 20. They just keep winning. Didn't get a ton of games under their belt last week, just 2-0 on the week, but they're 18-2, but they get it right into the meat of their CCL Blue play this week. This airs on Wednesday, but on Monday and Tuesday, so today and tomorrow, they play Pravi, and then they get St. Ignatius later in the week. So going to find out a lot about DePaul College Prep in these coming weeks, as really with all these CCL Blue teams as they get into conference play.
And we only choose 25 teams. It's a power 25, so you have to cut it off. And with that, I mean, there's a lot of good teams that we're looking at that we're kind of weighing every single week. Who should get in? Who kind of gets bumped out? Like, unfortunately, this week, Andrew, they went 1-2. They're at 15-4 on the year. Like, still really like them, but they had to get bumped out of the Power 25, and Hampshire was the same way. That Fox Valley's starting to beat up on each other a little bit. Like Prairie Ridge went 2-2 last week, but they hung in, and they're still at 23 on our list. But Hampshire had to bump out. They were 24. They went 2-2. They're 16-6 on the year. They're still a team we really like. But then you look down the list, like Plainfield Central was a team that we talked on. Like, they're 17-3, went 4-0 on the week. I think they're super interesting. Nashville down in Southern Illinois, they're 18-0. They went 3-0 on the week and have an arm in Lucas Dunn that I know we really like. Eureka, 20-2. I know they've had a really good year a couple years back, Gavin. They've got a couple guys doing it at the college level now as well. But Tremont's starting to play some better baseball. They're 19-4 coming off a 4-0 week. You're talking Fox Valley here and Cary Grove. 3-0 week for them, including a win over Prairie Ridge. They're 12-6. Monticello, who's got Ike Young, one of the top senior arms in the state, they are now sitting at 17-3. Sacred Heart Griffin is 16-4. Ottawa Marquette is 17-2. You got T-Town, Teutopolis, 17-2, and they're actually coming off a week where they went 3-1, so they were only coming into they were coming into this week with only 1 loss. East Peoria and Morton right there in your backyard, Gavin, both are having good years. 15-4 for East Peoria, and Morton's 15-5. Normal U-High's getting it going. They're 16-4. I know Belleville East had it going. They lost 2 games this past week, but they're 16-7. Evergreen Park's played a lot of close games. They're 15-6. Like, the list goes on. At Caneland, they've got a freshman we're super high on, Cannon Baxley. They're 13-4 on the year. They went 4-0 on the week. So, like, that's honestly just to name a few. Like, Dunlap's 15-5 as well, right there in that Morton East Peoria mix. Like, that's a really good area right now with a lot of good high school teams. And I'm sure there's some I'm missing. So if I missed any you guys want to mention, feel free.
No, with that, Drew, like, you guys correct me if I'm wrong here, but just kind of pulling it off the cuff here, like, I feel like I can't remember a time the past few years since I've been doing this where the records, there have been so many good records in that, our bubble team section where there's only 4 or 5 losses or less. Like, it's pretty impressive. Like, just looking at these records and going through it on Sundays and stuff, like, it's awesome to see.
I agree. I will say, like, you always are going to have some teams just missing the cut that have great records that, look incredible. But the amount of them, yeah, I don't remember having this many, because I'm going down the list. Like, we have Hersey in the mix. They're 15-3-1, and they have 2 Division I arms leading the way that are seniors, in Keegan Luxem and Lincoln Cosero. And then, I mean, Rochester's 15-5. Warren Township is 14-5. So it's Palatine is 15-6. They've got Toby Peterson on the mound, a Kentucky left-hander that's a senior, kind of leading the way. So yeah, Gab, I think I could talk for hours on these teams.
Yeah,
Mount Zion's another kind of sneaky team down there that's 13-4. Um, and which is beautiful, like with what we do, because there's always just good teams we need to continue to knock off the list. Like, at least for
yeah,
me, we want to see as many of the good top players as we can throughout the spring and get all of our follows. But like, we're also trying to check off the list. Like, have we seen this team? Have we seen this? And we're trying to see as many teams as we possibly can, especially as many good teams as we possibly can.
totally. And with that, I mean, moving over to some scores and highlights, like there was a lot of good stuff last week from prospects, teams as a whole. So, kind of looking at some games and notable performances. One off the cuff for me, and Gibson City's win on, I believe this was on Saturday or Friday, their win over Fieldcrest. Graydon Leonard is a 2027. He tallied 2 hits, one being a triple, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and then he also threw 6 innings on the mound, struck out 8, walked 3, allowed 2 runs and 2 hits. And then for Tremont, in their 11-7 win over Tri Valley, Andrew Dawson went 3 for 3 with an RBI, 3 runs scored, and he also struck out 7 in 6 innings pitched. Allowed 1 walk and 2 runs. And then for Wilmington, and their 13-1 win over Sandwich, sophomore Cooper Holman threw 5 innings and struck out 10, allowed 1 walk and 1 run. Brady Turner down there at Route Catholic tallied 3 hits and 5 RBIs and a triple in their 14-0 win over Pleasant Hill Western. Cole Wilson over at DMAC got the win on the mound and went 4 for 5 in their 12-8 win over Leroy. Andy Antonacci threw a complete game shutout over Springfield. He struck out 7 and walked 2. And then St. Joe Ogden, they beat Oakwood 10-0. And 2026, Trevor Ames went 4 for 4 with a homer, a triple, 5 RBIs, 3 runs scored, and then he also earned the win on the mound and threw 5 shutout innings, struck out 7, walked 1, and allowed 3 hits. But guys, if there's anything else that you saw last week, go ahead and get in here and
Yeah, I can hop in here next, Gav. Homewood Flossmoor starting to heat up. They actually ended up sweeping number 21 Andrew last week. We actually had our guy Kevin Cronin out at one of those games, and I know Antonio Brown Jr. who's an uncommitted 2026, actually threw the ball well for the Vikings in one of those wins over Andrew. Plainfield North took down number 17 Oswego twice last week. Starting on Tuesday, it was 12-2, and 2026 uncommitted left-handed pitcher Sam Finn threw the ball really well for Plainfield North. Punched out 5 over 4 innings, gave up just 2 runs on 1 hit. So he was a guy who really popped for me down at the Kickoff Classic. So excited to see that. Drew, what do you got?
No, that was one that stood out to me as well. That was a little daily roundup nugget that I plucked as well. So I'll have to come up with something else, but I love seeing that because, like, you see him once throw really well at the beginning of the spring, but to see that it's not a fluke, that he's going out, he's continuing to do it and lead Plainfield North. So happy for Sam. And that's a good call out. We're thinking alike over here, Tyler.
Great minds think alike. But yeah, then they took him down again Thursday, 4-3 or 3-2, excuse me. Sandberg knocking off number 6 Lincoln Way West last week on Wednesday. AJ Masak, I hope I'm saying that last name right, AJ, but he hit a 3-run homer in the win for the Eagles. Another game that stood out to me was Marist taking down number 10 Pravi on Thursday, 7-3. Listen, I liked Marist when I saw them, so to see them keep playing good ball over there is encouraging. Coach Sefcik obviously does a great job with that program, but in this one, Evan Smith went 2 for 3 with a double and 3 RBI. And then Tommy Hosty, who I really like the left-handed bat, actually got on the mound for Marist and punched out 6 over 4 2/3 innings, allowing just 2 runs. So shout out to Tommy Hosty, having a big outing against a really good Pravi lineup. Wabanzi Valley took down number 18 DeKalb 1-0 on Thursday, and the story of the game there is Owen Roberts, who just continues to do it. He had a huge year last year. He's a player of the year in their conference. He's a 2025 going to Indiana State, but tossed a complete game, struck out 8 and allowed just 1 hit. So big outing there. And then number 7 Lincoln Way East swept Lincoln Way Central. I actually saw one of those games, which I'll touch on when we get over the game coverage standpoint of things. But on Saturday, Cooper Johnson, who's a right-handed pitcher, 2027 grad, who I really like when I saw him earlier in this spring. I think he showed well for you too, Hammett. I could be wrong there, but tossed a complete game. allowed 1 run, struck out 8, and only gave up 4 hits. So shout out to Cooper, another guy I feel like we've talked about a lot on this podcast who just seems to be having a really big season for the Griffins. So that's what I got.
Well, and I was eyeing some stuff early on last week, which I know, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be a long time ago, but definitely deserves like a little shout out. So Manuka, they're rolling on the year. One of the best Manuka teams I've seen since doing this. They are currently 15-2 and number 4 in our Power 25, coming off a 3-0 week. But one of their wins was over Oswego East on Monday, and I just don't know if we can say enough about Braden Zillis. Like, just doing it all this year, having a huge year for the Indians. I know he had a really good junior campaign as well, but he's a senior going to Illinois State, doing it with the bat and the arm on the mound. But he threw a complete game shutout, gave up 3 hits, struck out 13, and just continues to dominate. Another kind of standout I saw on Monday, a guy that I've noted as a prospect of the week, so maybe that's kind of why my eyes gravitated towards it. Just any way to boost up my own thoughts or opinions, I guess. But Cole Latimer, uncommitted 2026 outfielder at DeKalb, had himself a day in a 12-10 win over Wabanzi. He went 3 for 3, including 2 2-run home runs in the first and second inning. I think there's a ton of upside in Latimer. Plenty more to come, but to see him kind of performing on the field as well right now is really exciting. We mentioned one game there with the left-handed arm with Sam Finn and uncommitted 2026 for Plainfield North. Well, I got another left-handed uncommitted 26, the Zach Toma arm out of West Aurora, who really has been like a huge reason why West Aurora is jumping in the rankings. Since I've been doing it, I don't think we've ever had West Aurora in the rankings. They've maybe been close when they had the Tar brothers and Ryan Nedved. But hey, they are tearing it up this year. And on Tuesday, in an 11-0 win over Bartlett, who's got some prospects in that lineup, Toma went another complete game and gave up 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, struck out 12. So you love to see uncommitted arms doing it, but especially left-handed arms. Toma's a guy that we still have talked about. We need to get out and see him. And then Wednesday, Mundelein gave Libertyville their second loss of the season. They ended up splitting that conference series with Libertyville 1-1. Mundelein won 6-5. Johnny Weiss and Caden Earring had 3 hits apiece. And then one thing that just stood out to me on Wednesday as well was McHenry. They had a big win, but just seeing our number 1 2028, Carver Cone, like continuing to hit. He's sitting at the top of that lineup. Went 3 for 3 with a home run, 2 RBIs, and 4 runs. So I know there was a lot of other action, Gavin, that I probably passed over, but those were definitely some noteworthy things that I had on my list.
Yeah, I mean, just looking through the roundup, I mean, there was a ton of good stuff. Just some quick ones from me. AJ Runkle, he punched out 10 in a complete game outing. Over Route Catholic, they won 5-1 in that one. He's a junior at Rochester. And then Enzo Infelice, he had one of the better lines of the entire week. He went 4 for 5 with 2 home runs in one game and 6 RBIs and a 19-0 win over De La Salle. And then St. Anthony, they had an 11-5 win over T-Town, Teutopolis. Brock Fearday, he had a good two-way showing. He's a 2025 SWIC commit, also a good basketball player, but he fired 5 innings with no earned runs, punched out 12, and he also went 3 for 4 with a home run and a double. But one of the bigger notes on the week, Peter Farron, he had that pinch hit grand slam to help walk off number 20 DGN at the time, and I know that got a...
What was up with this story, Pete? Like, I saw it making waves.
Well, so John Morosi was over there. It kind of seemed like to check out Ethan Moore, because they, interviewed him. He's one of their top prospects over at MLB Network. But yeah, I mean, hit the grand slam in front of him, so he had a little segment on MLB Network, which is pretty cool.
Didn't Coach Campbell get a little shout out too? Kevin
he
Campbell,
did.
the
He
head
got
coach
a couple.
at OPRF.
Yeah,
Love to see that.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was just cool. I mean, the attention that Illinois baseball has been getting this year, I have on a national level, I have not seen anything like that with this story. And I know Morosi was over at NAS, maybe the same week, probably the same week actually. And then
yeah, it was.
Just with the whole Jack Bauer thing, taking the world by storm, I have not seen anything like it in my time. And Drew, you could speak to it way better than me. Of course, you've been here a lot longer than me, but yeah, it's just really cool for Illinois. Like we're starting to get the respect that we deserve. I feel like because Illinois has always been one of the better, maybe underrated like states for baseball.
Well, and I don't know if we've like not gotten the respect. Maybe we haven't, but I will just say like it keeps getting better. And you kind of got in the mix here, Pete, like right when things really started taking off, I feel like. And now we've Ed Howard, Alec Thomas, like we've had our fair Dylan Heads, like we've had our fair share of high drafts, first round or second rounders, but I feel like you came and you got 2 first rounders out of high school that you scouted a bunch with Noah Schultz and Owen Murphy like that year. Like you really cut your teeth watching those guys. And then Ashton Izzy and Noah Schultz getting drafted out of the same high school I thought was really cool. But no, I think you're spot on. And I think even David Seifert said this, like there within 3 hours here in Illinois, there's a chance for 3 first round picks. Now, will it shake out that way? Who the heck knows? But you've got 2 left-handed arms that are super interesting in Cameron Appenzeller and Jack Bauer. And I kind of take your pick on who will go higher. It's going to be hard for people to turn down 101.8 with a big time slider. And just everything has seemed to tick up for Jack Bauer. But then you got Cameron Appenzeller, and he's that, 3-sport athlete coming off basketball. Like you're going to dream on him to, pop later, but he's got a ton of feel. He's got 3 pitches at starter profile. And then you got Jaden Fauske. So, no, really cool times in Illinois. You love to see this attention on the state. And I think it's gotten to the point where it deserves it, and I don't see it slowing down. Like you look at our younger classes coming up and our 28s, like I know Tyler just saw a pretty high level 28 that he'll get to from Saturday. Kind of already, tickling or at least teasing the 90 mark on the mound, and some of these 29s that we've seen at the Rising Stars events as well. Like the talent is plentiful in the state. And I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon.
Yeah, and kind of moving over now, Hammett, to player and pitcher of the week. I mean, big story there. I'll let you get into it, but I think it was our first national player of the week of the year. So go ahead and get in there.
Yeah, Davis Colley, he was our player of the week. I would have to check the other player that was in the discussion for it, because there was actually like potentially 2 guys that could have won National Player of the Week. Like, it was awesome. But Davis Colley, he won our Player of the Week, and like I said, won National Player of the Week. He was 15 for 20, had 3 home runs, all in one game, 3 doubles, and then 21 RBIs with 14 runs scored. Is kind of what did it, I feel like. The 21 RBIs is crazy. I've never seen a tally that high as long as I've been writing these stories. But then 7 walks, and he also swiped 2 bags. Yeah, just a crazy, crazy week. I mean, he's one of the more physical left-handed bats in the state, and he's got some polish with the feel to hit. So no surprise that he, put together the week that he did. But then Zane Caves, over at Minooka, kind of, going off Drew, this Minooka team's really good. And this in part because of the rotation they have. And Zane Caves, I mean, he shoved against one of the better lineups in the entire state, Lincoln Way West. He fired a complete game shutout. 7 innings with just 1 hit allowed. So, I mean, a 1-hitter against Lincoln Way West, that lineup, that's super impressive. He only walked 1 and he struck out 9. So, seems like he's kind of coming into his form now. I mean, coming off basketball season, it might takes those guys maybe a couple weeks or so to really find their footing, but it seems like he's, full form now.
Yeah, and just a couple nuggets now from the Diamond notes that I saw. Will Graba from Frem threw a 5-inning perfect game with 9 strikeouts and only needed 56 pitches. Martin Ledbetter from Hinckley Big Rock went 7 for 9 with 12 RBIs, 8 runs scored, 3 homers, 2 doubles, 2 triples, and 2 walks on the week. And then normal U-High's right-handed pitcher Ethan Keyser, he's a 2025, threw 6.1 innings, struck out 10, walked 2, and allowed 5 hits. And then on the season, he's 2-0 with a sub-1 ERA, 27 strikeouts, only 7 walks, and a sub-1 whip. So good stuff from him, and U-High's off to a good start, like we mentioned earlier, Drew. But yeah, Def or Drew, if you guys have anything else, feel free.
Well, the guy that I was mentioning earlier, JT Augustiniak from Plainfield Central. He was the one that was kind of like him or Collie, but ultimately Collie ended up taking it. But the thing with him, he had 9 doubles on the week, which that's like a crazy number as well. But yeah, he's going to Kaskaskia. He had a walk off, or not a walk off. I'm sorry.
Well,
it
was I think, which is it caught me off guard too, Pete, when I was reading that as well.
Yeah, it was a walk off grand slam against Westmont, but he led the team in all hitting categories. 13 hits, a walk, 9 doubles, a triple, a home run, 11 RBIs, and 11 runs scored with a stolen base. So great week for JT.
And he's long been a performer for Plainfield Central, impacting that varsity club since he was an underclassman. I know one guy that's in our mix here is John Rosner, the former head coach at Plainfield Central, so he keeps us kind of in the mix and all that. And I wanted to say he mentioned that Augustiniak was close to breaking some sort of career hit record or something at Plainfield Central. So maybe next week I'll have a little more information on that if I can dig into that. But, man, there were a lot of guys that caught my eye. I love doing the player of the week and getting the submissions because then we get all these guys that don't win but deserve a ton of love. Like, these guys that don't win are still putting up video game numbers. Like Joey Aaron for St. Charles East, he's a two-way. I would imagine a two-way commit for Xavier, and they'll just kind of see where he fits because I love the left-handed swing. I love the left-handed arm on the mound, but at the plate, he went 7 for 13 on the week, which, that's hitting over 500. That caught my eye. He walked 4 times, but what did it for me was the guy stole 12 bases in 1 week. You see guys do that for an entire season. So stealing 12 bases in a week I thought was pretty stupid. And then on the mound, he went 4 1/3 and struck out 8. Just kind of help propel St. Charles East go 4-0 on the week. That was one that I was kind of wowed by. Sandberg had a pretty solid week, and Quinn Durkin is a sophomore that we need to know. I know Coach Morsavillo reached out to me on him, and sounded like he was clutch all week with 3 multi-hit games. It went 12 for 18. With 3 triples, 7 RBIs, 7 runs scored, and 2 stolen bases for a sophomore to do that in games against Lockport, TF South, Joliet West kind of stood out to me. And then I know Coach Mano turned in Cash Kazmarek, a 2025 from Lake Zurich. He's uncommitted still, so like anybody out here looking for an unsigned senior that's performing, he went 4 for 4 with a homer against Normal West and 5 RBIs. And then it really doesn't seem that crazy because of the amount of RBIs that Davis Colley had on the week, but he had 3 home runs on the week with 11 RBIs and 10 runs scored, so he was a main contributor there for Lake Zurich. And those were just a couple that I was like, wow, I want to talk about these guys.
And then I had 4 performances that really stood out to me. The first one being Enzo Infeliz. Hammy, you kind of touched on him a little bit earlier, but he was my player of the year pick coming into the season, so to see him start to heat up fires me up a little bit. But 7 for 16, had a double, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, and 2 runs scored for Pravi. So, man, if they could really get Enzo hot at the plate, it could really help the Celtics start collecting wins here as they get into CCL Blue play. But next guy, Ethan Bass, 2026, out of Glenbrook North, going to Wake Forest, had a big week, 7 for 12, 2 bombs, 9 RBI. Patrick Connors over at Hinsdale Central, uncommitted 2026. 7 for 11, a double, 5 runs scored, 6 stolen bases. And then he actually hopped on the mound. Had 2 scoreless appearances in relief. 5 innings pitched total on the week, just 1 hit, no runs, and picked up a save along the way. And then last one here, Anderson Kaufman out of Alton. Really talented 2028 for us in the state. Tossed 5 innings. Struck out 5, give 3 in a win against number 11 O'Fallon. So helped lead the way there in a big win for Alton. Obviously over a team we're very, very high on in O'Fallon. So shout out to Anderson, man. Hammett is actually going to see him tomorrow. So sorry if I buried the lead there a little bit, but that's what I got.
Well, and how do you even put that? Because he'll have seen, by the time the podcast rolls out, yeah, Hammett's going to have some info on Anderson Kaufman, as long as weather holds. But
yeah,
keep an eye out for Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean, this is all going to be past tense. This is coming on Wednesday.
Yeah, but still.
So
Well, if they missed it, go back, check out the game story from Tuesday. Yeah, should be some good stuff on there.
Yeah, but that kind of, I guess, leads us into our game coverage section. Like, I mean, you guys were out to a ton of games last week, Def. I know you said you saw 4. But yeah, on Monday, Hammett, I think you're kind of kicking things off here with your York and Lions game.
Yeah, and I'm fired
Drew,
up.
sorry,
We got
ahead.
Dane Poe, second week in a row, entering the podcast. So welcome, Dane. Looking forward to hearing from you because I know you're just continuing to absolutely crush your coverage. Yeah, Pete, what do you got to lead us off?
Yeah, I kind of teased this one last week a little bit. I caught number 22 York against Lions Township, a really good matchup. The Dukes won this one. They got out to a quick 2-0 lead in the top of the first inning. Josh Fleming, one of the more impressive swings that I've seen all spring. He took 91 for the first pitch of the game through the left side. Then he was later brought home by Drew Gamme at 2025, who doubled to the right center gap. The Lions would storm back, though, in the bottom of the third, and they would take a 4-3 lead at the time. Tommy George Alosa, EIU commit, singled and brought home. He singled, and Blake Ragsdale doubled, and they would both later score on an error to make it 3-2 at the time. And then Lou Radcliffe, a 2026, he would follow with a 2 RBI double to help make it 4-3. And then the Dukes would ultimately regain the lead in the top of the fifth. Luke Piezinski, he started the scoring with an RBI single through the left side, and they would add 2 more on a fielder's choice and a bases-loaded walk to make it 6-4. And then ultimately, the Lions would kind of fight back in the last inning, in the bottom of the 7th, and bring it to 6-5, but they would fall short ultimately. But some of the top prospects I saw that day, Jack Slidham, I mean, he was kind of the main reason I went over to check that out. One of the top 2026s in the state. He's really kind of, had a helium rise since the state games, really. And he was 88-91. Slider was 76-80. Showing a changeup and showing a cutter. I mean, that kid, his ceiling is incredibly high. Really young-looking face. Like, he is not really hit his, he doesn't have his man strength yet, right? Like, so in 3 to 4 years, that kid's going to really pop. He was really impressive. Blake Ragsdale, one of the top 2027s in the that Illinois group. His defense just remains, elite. Like, he made some Javi Baez-type acrobatic, tags, and he was making some really, really impressive plays, like a diving stop in the hole, a really impressive run-through play, and the bat continues to look the part as well. Twitchy, with some strength, he was able to take a double the other way. Tommy Georgelos, man, I love just watching that kid handle himself at the plate. Really compact, with strength, with really good bat to ball. The kid just hits. Dom Pisciotti, so he's, I believe, uncommitted. I mean, from what I could tell, he's uncommitted. He's playing first base for them, and I know he actually pitches as well, but he is super physical. I have not seen that kid for a few years. He looks every bit of the part of, a first baseman with some juice, and I know he's, mid-upper 80s on the mound as well. And then Mercer Kranz, he came out of the bullpen for Lions Township, and I was a big fan of him. He's going to Rock Valley. He's a senior. It was a mid-80s fastball up to 88, spinning a slider around 75 to 77, but it was a really quick arm that would just it just jumped out of the hand. It was explosive. I was a big fan of that. I think that kid's got a chance to continue to throw harder down the road. And then Josh Fleming, like I mentioned, 91 miles an hour for the first pitch of the game. You just love to see that, ready to hit. He was clearly timing him up on deck. There's just a little things like that stand out. But he's also long been, one of the more talented middle infielders in the state. And I know he had a huge week at the Rock this past summer, maybe the best weekend we've ever seen there. He had 4 or 5 home runs in one day. And then Luke Piezinski, he's a Missouri S&T commit. He's a senior. I just love the look all around. Really bouncy defender. I think he can handle the glove and stay there at the next level. And I think the right-handed swing's got some upside as well. And then Jack Bodak, he was my prospect of the week last week. He's a uncommitted left-hander, and he was pitching in the low 80s with a slider, working fast, attacking the zone. The line wasn't the best, but it's still he still was impressive. He's a college arm all day long. Like I said, works fast, attack the zone, and yeah, that was pretty much all I had there, Gav.
Yeah, and then kind of moving on, down the list on Monday. Dane, I know you were over at Triad in Waterloo in a 15-5 win for Triad.
So I saw Triad. That was the first game of Monday that I saw. Hayden Burner had quite a game on the mound and at the plate. He went 4 for 4. He came up a double shy of the cycle. Um, Hit a home run, solo shot through over the center field wall. Drove in 4 runs overall in the game. Also threw 2 innings, struck out 4 batters. Did not give up an earned run. Just really dominant on both sides of the plate, both sides of the game. On the mound, he was sitting 87-90, topping out at 91, mixing a slider that was sitting 78-80 with sharp late action. Just dominant stuff. Keegan Sipe was also very impressive on the day, going 2 for 2 while driving in 2 runs, connecting on a launch pad of a solo home run over the right center wall into the trees. Very intriguing 2027 prospect, as well as Jackson Vaughn was also very impressive in that game, another 2027 guy to keep an eye on. The turning point of this game was really when Triad got going early on in the game. Bernruder connected on a triple down the right field line. Landon Loomis and Keegan Sipe followed up with RBI singles of their own, and then Nolan Keller kind of finished it off with a sac fly to center. But that really got them going, and they never looked back. Sawyer Brunson's another guy to keep an eye on. Second time I've seen him this spring on the mound. He's at set 85-86. Mixed in a slider that had 10-4 shape that's at 73-75. Just really good stuff. Struck out 7 batters over 4 innings and collected a multi-inning save. So very good stuff.
Sawyer Brunson's still uncommitted.
Yes.
So like down in that Southern Illinois, especially like that Edwardsville Metro East area, like Sawyer Brunson's the name to know, and I know Edwardsville's got a couple unsigned seniors as well. Just wanted to shout that out because I saw Sawyer Brunson at the kickoff classic, and there'd be a lot of schools that I would think would be interested in him.
The other game on Monday that I saw was Mascoutah beating Highland 7-0. All thanks to a dominant performance from Austin Musso. 17 strikeouts for a complete game, shutout, only allowing 1 walk and 2 hits. Sitting 88-91 with the fastball, topping out at 92 early on with arm side run. Was able to locate in all parts of the plate. Got swings and misses at the top of the zone, and then mixing a slider with 10-4 shape with sharp late action, sitting at 78-80. Just dominant. I think he got the first 8 guys striking out of the game, and then carried on throughout the rest of the game. The turning point of this game, Josh Amon got the scoring started in the top of the 6th with an RBI single, and then Tom Harrison followed up with an RBI single of his own, and then the rest of the runs came in from errors, balks, and a stolen base to home plate. Prospect highlight, Nolan Labert starting at second base. Just really like the stuff. I saw him on the mound a couple weeks ago. He sat low 80s, funky right-hander. But at the plate today, or on Monday, he went 2 for 4, coming around to score a run. Just smooth operate up the middle. Really had good speed that he showed off with the stolen base. And then also Chase Knable, I think, needs to get a shout out as well. He shined as well for Highland on the mound. Struck out 6 batters through 6 innings, and he was untouchable in the first 5 innings. A Southwestern, a Swick commit. Sat 80-82 with arm side run, really funky low 3/4 slot, mixed in a 68-70 changeup, and then threw a curveball that was sitting 60-61. Just really good stuff from him as well.
I just want to throw this out there. I know we haven't voted on our player and pitcher of the week yet for this week, but man, hearing that Austin Musso those numbers, I think he's going to have a strong case for pitcher of the week. I mean, 17 strikeouts is nuts. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, and to add, he keeps just like dominating. It looks like I'd love to look at his season stats on the year because I feel like anytime we see something from Austin Musso, it's just a really good performance. And I know Dane, you've seen him a few times. I saw him and down at the Kickoff Classic, and yeah, it's just good stuff all around for Austin Musso. And moving over to Tuesday. Tyler, why don't you get in here with your game to give Dane kind of a break, but then after Dane, you'll get into your other Southern Illinois game you saw.
Yeah, Tuesday, went over to Brother Rice and number one Brother Rice, that is, take down number seven Lincoln Way East 4-0. First off, absolutely love Brother Rice's new field over there, man. It absolutely gorgeous. It might be like my number one or number two favorite field I've gone to since doing this job. But MVP for this one, left-handed pitcher Danny Sheehan for Brother Rice, absolutely dealt. Complete game shutout, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no walks, no runs, 4 Ks. It's not overpowering stuff, but man, he just pounds the zone. 3 pitches for strikes. Trusts his defense behind him as any pitcher should with that caliber of defense that they're rolling out over there, Brother Rice. But got a ton of weak contact as well, but really liked his demeanor on the mound, pitched with emotion in a good way, kind of that bulldog mentality, went right at guys. So he's my MVP for this one. Some underclassmen that really caught my eye. Brady Cunningham, 2027, just continues to do it whenever we see him, whether he's on the mound or if he's not, if he's just hitting. And this one he was just hitting for me. I thought he swung it well. Shortstop Colin Campbell, 2027, going to Louisville out of Brother Rice. Big time actions at shortstop, I thought. Think he's a really sound defender over there. And they're doing whatever they can to get him in the lineup, I think. And, whether that's him playing left field or shortstop, I mean, he's a really athletic defender, and I think he could probably play anywhere on the diamond, but thought he had a good game. Center fielder Anthony Cardilano, another 2027 out of Brother Rice. Just all sorts of range and foot speed out there in center field. Can cover, a boatload of ground. Comfortable going left, right, behind. Whatever. So really liked his game. Then next is shortstop Evan Riff, 2027 out of Lincoln Way East. He showed well for me both times I saw Lincoln Way East this past week. I think in this one it was more the defensive side of things. Just really like how he moves and how he bounces around on the diamond. Really confident defender at short. So those were some underclassmen that caught my eye. Turning point in this game, obviously, it wasn't very high scoring, but bottom of the first inning, Nolan Ramley, 2026, going to Kentucky, just hits an absolute rocket out to left field. I mean, off the bat, it had to be like 105 or 110. It got out so quick, and he knew it right away. It was seriously like a line drive home run. Like, it wasn't some towering shot. So he had a solo shot in the bottom of the first. Felt like that kind of set the tone for the whole game for the Crusaders. And then the prospect highlight for me from this one is Gavin Triesenberg. I know we've talked about him quite a bit these last couple weeks, but man, every time I see him, I just love his game. He was playing third base in this one, obviously with Campbell playing short, and looks just as comfortable at third base as he does when you go see him play shortstop. He just seems very professional. When you go watch this kid play, at third base, looks apart. It looks easy. Everything looks routine over there. Right-handed hitter was turning on balls. I think he had I want to say he had 2 doubles in the game. I know he for sure had one, but was on the barrel with authority. So, he's a 2025 going to Arizona. I don't know how much pro attention he's going to get, out of high school, but really, really high on Gavin. And I think he's having a heck of a season for Brother Rice. And, that's what I got from Tuesday, Gav.
Yeah, and then Dane, how about this game where Belleville West upset top 15 team in O'Fallon?
Yeah, it was quite a game. MVP of this game came from Jefferson JUCO commit John Hilbert, who struck out 10 batters through 6 2/3 innings. Only allowed 1 earned run. He was very, very dominant against a really tough O'Fallon offense. Fastball set 86, 87. Clean out of hand, was able to locate everywhere in the zone, mixed in a 10-4 shape slider that had sharp action sitting 77, 80. The turning point of this game came in the bottom of the 7th with runners on first and third in the bottom of the 7th. A balk was called to tie the game at 4, and then a single and a walk later set up 2026 Brave Forney with the bases loaded 2-out situation, and then Forney would draw a walk to bring in the winning run to pull off the upset. A couple guys that popped out to me, Anthony Perez. Last game I saw him, he had a pretty long home run. This game, he hopped on the mound and was sitting 85-86 from the left side. 2026 year, mixing a slider that's set in the mid 70s with hard break. And then another guy, Asher Cantu, another guy that keeps impressing at the plate. He went 2 for 3 with a double. He was a whole reason why they tied the game in the first place, getting the bases clearing with a single and then a throwing error brought in the last run as well. Quality receiver behind the plate, was able to show off a strong arm with multiple back picks at first as well. And also Tyson Filioff started for O'Fallon. He sat 84-86 while topping out with 87, mixing a changeup sitting 78-79, and slider that sat 71-73. Just looked really good as well, striking out 4 batters through 5 innings of work.
All right, yeah, kind of moving over to Wednesday now. We had a few games that we were out at. So, Tyler, yeah, go ahead and kick things off for us.
Yeah, saw number 8 Nazareth Academy beat Marian Catholic 8-4. For me, I'm going to have a 3-way tie for my MVP, and it's the 1, 2, and 3 at the top of that Nazareth order. Starting with Landon Tomey, 2026 going to Tennessee, then Jaden Fauske, 2025 going to LSU, and Colin Roche, 2025 going to Harper Junior College. They combined to go 8 for 13 with a double, triple, home run, 4 RBIs, and 3 runs scored for the Roadrunners. So just thought all 3 of those guys really led the way for Naz en route to the victory. I'll touch a little bit more on Tomey later. Underclassmen that stood out, left-handed pitcher Eddie Donnelly, 2027 out of Naz. Thought he threw the ball well in relief. Really physical frame. A lot to dream on there. Outfielder Jazaris, I hope I'm saying that right. Mackmore Jr., 2027 out of Marian Catholic. Really athletic, all around showing. The frame really kind of jumps out at you when you first see him. He's a right-handed hitter. Was floating around the outfield. He was playing right for the Spartans, and I thought he just showed really well on both sides of the ball. And then shortstop Bronx DeBerg. Freshman for Marian Catholic, class of 2028. Really steady defender over there. So just a guy that I think we'll have to keep watching for the next couple of years over there at Marian Catholic. But I was really encouraged. I think there's a very strong foundation there defensively, and he bats in the 2-hole and put up some really good at bats as well. So that's what I got underclassmen wise. The turning point in this game was probably the 4-run first inning for Naz. Landon Tomey leads the game off. So how this was, it was at Nazareth Academy, but it was Marian Catholic's home game. The game was supposed to be played at Marian Catholic, but they moved it over to Naz due to weather. So Marian Catholic was the home team. Landon Tomey leads the game off with a solo homer out to right. That really just kind of set the tone, I felt like. But then there were a pair of RBI singles from Cameron Alicon at 2026 and Drew Highland at 2026 for Naz. So in the inning, so that gave Naz a 4-0 lead going into the bottom half of the first. But to me, it felt like they had control of the game from that point on. Prospect highlight for me, shortstop Landon Tomey. Listen, I continue to just be really impressed every time I see Landon play. For me, I think the biggest highlight here is one, he's always, it seemed like, had the bat the ball. That's never really been an issue, but now he's starting to tap into even more power. Obviously his dad, Jim, could hit a home run from time to time in the bigs, but the thing that I think really stands out is just his defense, right? He was playing second base the last couple of years for Naz, right? They had a guy by the name of Cooper Malamasian who's tearing it up at Indiana now as a freshman, but really didn't know, okay, how's it really going to translate over there at shortstop? And really, I would think there's not any sort of drop-off from Malamasian to now Tomey taking over shortstop for Naz. All sorts of athleticism and bounce. Just really looks like a guy over there. And looks like he could stick it short at the next level for sure, in my opinion. But left-handed hitter, man, the approach always impresses me. It just looks so professional in the box. He doesn't expand the zone. You can honestly see his process when you go watch him hit. So really like Landon. I also got to shout out Jaden Fauske, obviously highly touted draft prospect out of Illinois. I know Drew touched on him a little bit earlier, but really looks the part. right? He's going to get draft attention. I feel like it's a matter of where, pick wise he gets drafted, opposed to if he gets drafted. I don't know if that's too lofty of a statement or not, but that, just really looks apart. Left-handed hitter, all sorts of juice. Watching him and Tommy hit pregame on the field was really cool. What Coach Milano does over there is before he throws it to him, he's like, hey, what are you doing this round, right? And, they're thinking, hey, I'm thinking middle away, or, Fauski's last round was like, I'm working gap to gap. And then to watch those guys do exactly what they say they want to do that round, to me as high schoolers, is just so impressive. But that's what I got from Wednesday. Gav, I can throw it over to you.
Well, and real quick, you mentioned Naz and you mentioned Cooper Malamasian. And at the beginning of our call, we go through, former Illinois prospects that are doing well at their college. And, we need to highlight Cooper Malamasian because Tyler Bell, we've highlighted him a couple times playing as a true freshman for Kentucky and hitting really well. Cooper's the same way. He's playing all over the infield as a true freshman. We had him ranked number 7 in our 2024 class. And just looking at his numbers here, kind of got into the lineup and started playing every day. I felt like a little later into the year. It looks like he's played in 43 of the 44 games, but he started in 34 of them. He's in 339, and he's got 14 doubles and 4 home runs. So really impressive college start to Cooper Malamasian, and I would imagine after whenever he does become draft eligible, that'll be a guy high on people's lists. So that was a good call out there. And when you mentioned him, Tyler, I was like, I got to look at it. I got to look the stats up because I always see his name on social.
No, that's a good shout. Cooper. Yeah. I actually don't want to leave this out. For Naz, Chase Zidlicki, I thought threw the ball really well for the Roadrunners. Got to shout out my fellow, he's going to go D3 to Middlebury. So fellow D3 king over there, but 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 4 Ks. But I thought he threw the ball obviously really well for Naz. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, so on Wednesday, I went and saw a crosstown matchup between Normal West and at the time number 13 Normal Community. Normal West won that game 3-0, but the MVP of that game was left-handed pitcher Chase Reinhardt. He's a 2027. He threw a complete game shutout with 10 strikeouts, and the kid just competes. Normal Community on Friday went on to beat Normal West 12-2. So I think that just kind of goes to show how good Reinhardt was keeping an offense that is that potent at times to no runs. In that game, he was 82-86, up to 87 with the fastball. Showed feel to throw a curveball for strikes, and he was throwing it in any count and often. He kept hitters off balance. And then with that, Sam McCauley is their catcher. He's a 2027, and he does a good job behind the plate catching Reinhardt. Moves well behind the plate. Good receiver, so really like him. And honestly, there wasn't a ton of big nuggets from the game in terms of the actual game coverage. I mean, Ryder Kuhn is a right fielder for Normal West, and he had a really well hit triple in the game, and that was in the bottom of the third. He eventually scored to put the game at 3-0. And then, looking at some prospects for Normal Community, right-handed pitchers Landon Corbin and Jacob Engel both threw a couple innings in relief. Landon Corbin showed a fastball up to 85, sat in the low 80s. He's a simple mover and kind of showed a curveball with more vertical shape. It was not really 12-6, but not really 11-5, kind of that in between. And then Jacob Engel, he threw 12 pitches in the game, but he was 84-86. So a brief look at him, but it was still pretty interesting. So I know Normal Community is a team that we've seen some arms from them. So just seeing that they have some depth like that is always a good thing for a team. But that's really all I had from my game. Really not a ton of offensive action. Really just good stuff from Chase Reinhardt. So yeah, I mean Dane, if you want to move on to your game here that you saw on Wednesday.
Yeah. So I saw at the time number 12 Father McGivney beat Carterville 11-1. The MVP of this game was Isaac Wendler, another guy that showed well on both sides of the plate or both sides of the game. He went 1 for 3 at the plate with a double and an RBI, as well as drawing a walk. On the mound, he struck out 7 batters through 4 innings while only allowing 1 run. Um, he sat 84-87 while topping out at 88 on the mound, and then mixing a curveball that sat 69-70. And he showed a strong fight. He got himself into a couple of jams, but he didn't put himself down at all. He kept fighting and getting out of them. And then at the plate, just easy pull side power that he showed with a double that was down the line right into the left field wall, which actually was also part of the turning point of this game, which finished the game. So that was an RBI double. And then Drew Kleinheider set him up with a 2-run single into center field. And then 2 more runs scored off a bases loaded walk and a pass ball, which ended up finishing the game in 5 innings. A couple guys to highlight. Scott Phelps, another guy that keeps showing well in front of me. He went 1 for 2 at the plate, showed pull side power with a 2-run double to right field. Patient approach at the plate, showed a strong arm behind the plate as he caught a runner at first with a back pick. Just showing very well. Omar Avilos had a strong day at the play, went 1 for 2. Launched a no doubt home run, 2-run home run over the right field wall in the bottom of the first to get his team on the board. Showed a disciplined approach at the plate. He drew a couple walks and showed off his speed on the base pass by grabbing a couple of stolen bases. And then another guy to keep an eye on for Carterville is Zach Snow. He started at third, moved over to shortstop after a pitching changed. He finished the day going 1 for 3. Just very, very high upside guy to keep an eye on. Smooth operator on the left side of the infield with an arm to match and gap approach.
Yeah, and then kind of moving over to Thursday. Def, you saw Lincoln Way East and Lincoln Way Central. Another look at Jack Bauer. What do you got?
Well, for me, obviously being a pitcher on this, or former pitcher on this podcast, right? You really look forward to the big time pitching showdowns, and that's exactly what we got last Thursday. Rivalry game, Jack Bauer taking the ball for Lincoln Way East and Luke Menzik taking the ball for Lincoln Way Central. Lincoln Way East would prevail. They'd win 2-0. Unfortunately for Central, there were a couple defensive miscues that kind of just cost them the game in this one, but MVP for me, Jack Bauer, just continues to do it. You know, every time he takes the ball, it seems like he's throwing the ball really well. This was more of an extended look for me. You know, I saw him earlier in the year and it was just 2 innings. This time it was 4 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 5 strikeouts, no walks. So, you know, where I want to start is like, okay, he's got all this high-level stuff, right? And he's all around the zone with it. 74% strikes in this one. Like I said, not a walk. I just feel like that's not common when you've got, you know, big-time power stuff like that, right? He was 97-99, touched 100 early, settled in more at like 95, 96, but you know, the slider, he's ripping it off at 79-82 with, you know, over 2,600 RPMs spin, you know, just all sorts of big time stuff. And he's finding the zone, you know, at an incredible rate. So it's really impressive. You know, I don't want to just brush over it because, you know, he's gotten a ton of love to this point on this podcast, but for him to continue to, you know, pitch and really show all sorts of pitchability as well. You know, he looked more like a pitcher in this extended look and controlling the run game in this one. Had a guy picked off early in the game. Feel like he varies his moves, varies his looks. So really to me just was starting to look like a complete package on the mound. And Drew, what do you got?
Well, listening to you talk and the amount of times we've now seen him, and just talking about his draft status and, you know, you go out one day and you pop a 101.8 down at Lake Point on the track, man, you're going to get a ton of attention, right? Like, people are going to come out and see you. And then if you go out the next day and you're not the same guy, or if you're kind of scattered, throwing the ball all over the place, it's really going to affect a scout's confidence. You know, these guys are looking at Jack Bauer, Cameron Appenzeller, and Jaden Fauske, and there's a ton of money on the line. So the more that Bauer can come out and be the same guy, and that is, you know, in dominating fashion, throwing strikes, extending his outing, the more confidence that's going to put in these scouts, you know, and decision makers' minds for Jack Bauer. Which for me, like, that's just awesome to hear. Like, that Jack is just continuing. It's almost like he's elevating his performances by you talking about the way he's holding the running game. And then, too, the other thing that it does, the more that he can profile himself as a starter versus a reliever, the higher it's going to help him in the draft, or at least the um, just as far as his prospect status will continue to elevate the more he can look like a starter. So, um, the just a couple things I wanted to mention there, and the fact that he's just continuing to be the same guy or better with that velo that you're talking about, especially from kind of what we have seen in the past. Just one of the coolest stories I've been a part of since doing this, and keep doing it, Jack. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, and then I can move on now. Underclassmen, uh, like I said, Evan Riff had a really good week in front of me. This time felt like he did it both with the bat and the glove. Took some really good at bats. I felt like against Luke Menzik, who I'll touch on here just shortly, but defensively as well. Made probably the play of the game right at the end of the game, which I'll touch on next as well. But really like Evan's game. Think he's really starting to show a ton of potential on both sides of the ball. DH Rocco Triolo for Lincoln Way East, another 2027. Thought he hit the ball well in this one. I know he showed really well for Hammond a couple weeks ago as well, so it was good to see Rocco on the barrel in this one, right-handed hitter. Turning point, bottom of the seventh, tying run up for Lincoln Way Central. Ground ball up the middle, kind of goes to the second base side of the bag, and Evan Riff gets the ball, kind of has to like step back, touch the base, and then make a on target throw to first, and that ended the game. So thought it was just a really savvy play from Evan, especially to show the type of body control to finish the play. It was really impressive to me. Prospect highlight, Luke Menzik. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about him. Thought he threw the ball extremely well. If there's anybody who was listening to this podcast this time last year, he was easily up there for one of my favorite arms I saw last spring. Got to see him twice last year for Lincoln Way Central, and to see he just continues to elevate is really encouraging. He's a 2025 going to Xavier. His brother, Landon Menzik, is playing at Xavier right now as a true freshman. So, listen, thought he threw the ball really well. The thing that I love with Luke is just his mound presence. Every time I see him, it's very calm, kind of like a stoic, personality up there. There could be all sorts of stuff that goes wrong behind this kid, and you would never know it defensively, or maybe made a bad pitch and somebody got a hit on him. Just zero emotion. It's like, okay, I'm going to get back on the bump, go right back to work. Fastball was 90 to 92, touching 93. He's always been able to spin breaking balls, I feel like, for us, and that was no different in this one. Spinning a slider at 83 to 84 with 2,500 plus RPM. Curveball was getting 2,800 plus RPM at 81 to 82. And then was also showing a changeup at 78 to 80. So I think it's really three pitches right now, but I mean that changeup could be for sure a fourth once he gets to college. But really like Luke, man. The thing I noticed is he's kind of lengthened out his arm action as well. He used to be a very short and compact guy last year, and prior to that. So he's lengthened out his arm. It actually looks kind of cleaner to me. Looks more natural. So that was just something I noticed with Luke. But I remain to be a huge fan of Menzik, and hopefully I'll get to see him, one more time this spring. And then I can move over to Saturday. So Maine South walk it off against Lane Tech 5-4. This game actually went to extra innings. Maine South got the win in 8. MVP of this one is third baseman Nate Serra for Maine South. He's an uncommitted 2026. 3 for 4, a triple, an RBI, a run scored. He was just all over the barrel in this one for me. He's a right-handed hitter. Thought he swung it really well, obviously. Some underclassmen to know. Dodger Friedrich, right-handed pitcher 2028. Drew kind of teased us earlier, but we had been getting good reports on Dodger. It was a guy we were really excited to see, so this game kind of became a no-brainer once we found out he was on the mound for Lane Tech, and lived up to expectations, I feel like. He was 86 to 88 with the fastball. It's a really durable frame. Every bit of 6'4", 195, but it's a really durable frame. Looks like a frame that could easily hold that velo, especially as he continues to get older, but Yeah, 86 to 88 with the fastball. He pitched more 83 to 85 in the later stages of the game, but was also spinning a nice little slider in there at 71 to 76. Seemed to have feel for it and a lot of confidence in it. Felt like he could throw it in really any count. But he punched out 5 over 6 innings of work. Then Russell Hengels, 2027 for Maine South. Thought he threw the ball really well in relief for Maine South. Low 80s arm, but mixed it up with fastball and breaking ball. Got weak contact and just got outs for Maine South out of the pen. Outfielder Evan Adamczewski, another 2027 out of Maine South. Really just liked how he moved in the outfield. Left-handed hitter, didn't really get a ton to hit. He actually got hit twice in this one. But that's a bat I know showed really well for us at preseason All-State for Hammett. And then shortstop Alex Valle, 2027 for Maine South. Really like how this guy plays defense. Plays through the ball, all sorts of athleticism and bounce it short. He actually was on the barrel quite a couple times too. So really liked Alex's game. That was my first time seeing him. I know Coach Lorenz over there is really high on him, and it's really easy to see why. Turning point in this one, Lane Tech would get 2 base runners on in the top of the 8th, and then right-handed pitcher Jake Zabratonski was out of the pen for Maine South. Thought he threw the ball really well. Just a side note there, he's an unsigned senior who's running his fastball 84 to 86. So if any schools out there are listening, there's an unsigned senior for you. But he pitched out of the jam and really kept the momentum on Maine South side. They ended up tying the game in the bottom of the 6th. So when Lane Tech started threatening in the top of the 8th, I thought it was really crucial that Zabratonski made executed pitches and got him out of the jam. And then it allowed them to walk it off in the next inning, which was done by Nate Serra, who I mentioned as the MVP. I probably should have mentioned that he was the one who walked it off against Lane Tech. But, prospect highlight, I want to shout out Jack Giannikos. This is an uncommitted 2026 that I know we've long liked here. He's working his way back from injury and wasn't stat line wasn't the greatest, but, I really don't care. Listen, I've been through his shoes coming back from Tommy John. It takes a while to get that feel, that control, that command back of your stuff, but really a lot to like here. He touched 89 with the fastball, 86 to 88. Really liked the curveball he was spinning in there. So big fan of Jack. To upside profile. So just hope he continues to work his way back from injury and stay healthy. But it's a really nice arm for Maine South to have, especially once he gets fully healthy and hopefully around playoff time for them. But that's what I got.
Yeah, and then before we get over to Prospect of the Week, just wanted to make a mention that we updated our rankings for the 2026s, 27s, and 28s, and we'll have a special episode for that. But Drew, go ahead if you have anything else you want to add.
No, that was it. Just letting the viewers know they can plan on something coming, because we updated the rankings and haven't really made too much of a mention of it on the podcast. So we will try to do just a standalone podcast talking about some players in the rankings, guys on the rise, newcomers, all-encompassing stuff on the ranking.
Yeah, but Hammett, you're the first one listed here, so go ahead and get in the Prospect of the Week if you want to get in here first.
Yep, I'll go with I'm going with Lon Roberts, a uncommitted junior from Lyons Township. He's a name that we've liked a lot in event, so it was really good to see him in game. But he was playing third base, and I actually thought that he looked really good over there. The arm played really well. So I think it's actually good enough to stay on the left side of the infield. He had life and carry across, like no trouble. And he's one of the profiles that we really like about him. He's a switch hitter, and he's good from both sides. I really like how short it is to the ball, and he's actually, it's like kind of just that line drive, like spray approach, which I think for him is perfect. And he just continues to improve his tools, right? Like his foot speed, most notably from this last year, like he shaved almost a full second off his 60 time. So clearly the kid's got a work ethic, and he's just a name to know. Switch hitting middle infielders are, never a bad profile to have.
And then I can hop in here. My uncommitted prospect of the week is going to be Jack Tamer, right-handed pitcher out of Lincoln Way East. He's an unsigned senior, class of 2025. This is a guy that I think a ton of schools in the area should, be penciling or, circling to go out and go see. He's been performing all spring for the Griffins, and got to see him come out of the pen last Thursday and thought he threw the ball really well. Gave him 3 scoreless innings out of the pen. Fastball is 85 to 87. Seems like it comes out like he hides it well because it's kind of got some late life to it through the zone, but was also throwing in a 12-6 curveball that had all sorts of feel for, could earn whiffs with the pitch and get outs with it. So 2-pitch guy, really liked Jack, thought he threw the ball well, and I know he's just been having a big spring for Lincoln Way East. So that is my uncommitted prospect of the week.
Yeah, and then my uncommitted prospect of the week is right-handed pitcher Landon Corbin, a 2026 at Normal Community. I kind of mentioned him before in that game recap, but he came into the game in relief, had to kind of come in early just to relieve their starter, who was kind of having a tough outing there. But he threw 4.1 innings, struck out 5, walked 2, allowed 1 run and 4 hits. And again, his fastball was 81 to 84, touched 85, and showed kind of that vertical 11-5 shape curveball that was like in the mid to upper 60s. But no, uncommitted 2026, Landon Corbin, he's a name to know.
I'm shouting out another 2026 middle infielder, Luke Schuckenbrock. He's uncommitted, Gillespie High School. Down there, kind of right off I-55, south of Springfield, close to Litchfield and Staunton. For anybody out there wondering where Gillespie is. But he really showed well for us last year at the Illinois State games. He's a 701 runner. He's 82 across the infield. It's around a 90-mile-an-hour exit velocity. But, for me, it's not the tools that I like with Schuckenbrock. It's the overall look. It's the athleticism, and it's the actions on the infield. I really like the glove presentation, the way the hands play, the way he works through the baseball. Like, he looks like a true middle infielder to me. And then offensively as well, it's like really, really easy and confident and just relaxed in the box. He watches around a BP, just kind of flicking the barrel. He uses the whole field. He stays inside the baseball. He just looks like a guy to me that is only going to get better in kind of every realm of the game. The foot speed's going to pick up. He'll be a sub-7 runner. He'll probably be mid to upper 80s across the infield. And then he's a barrel control guy that's going to be a tough out that just sprays it around the yard. So keep an eye on Luke Schuckenbrock, especially down the road. I just think it's a really, really good upside 26 that's got the tools to stick on the infield.
Yeah, well, that'll wrap up episode 25 of the Bullpen. Appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. Appreciate you listening, and we will see you next time.